The line on this one, Teddy, is Jake Paul's minus 200. Tyron Woodley is plus 170. We've got a line on the over-under that we'll get into when we break down the fight. But tell me what you're looking for in this one, and are you looking forward to seeing what happens here? Jake Paul seems to be, he hasn't really been tested, so to speak, but it should be an interesting test against Tyron Woodley, who does have extensive combat sports experience. He's been a world title holder in the UFC. He's got deep experience in the UFC, so the lights aren't going to get to him. What do you think?
I think that sorry I have to say what I'm about to say, because it contradicts what you just said, to the extent that, and the reason I'm sorry I have to say it, it's got nothing to do with being against Paul or against Woodley or for Paul. I give Paul credit. I give the brothers all the credit in the world. They're out there doing it the American way. They figured out a way to make money. They're not hurting anybody. They might hurt the opponent, but it's a fight business, so that's inherent with the business. Just like football, you might hurt a guy when you're on the fight, but they're not maliciously going out there to do anything wrong, break any laws. They found a way with their great following to make money at this and to get people's attention and to get people's imagination. You know what? Credit to you. Credit to you guys, really. I mean it. A lot of people get angry at me. Teddy, you're a boxing guy your whole life. This crap, it takes away. It doesn't take away from anything. A restaurant could be a beautiful restaurant across the street and another restaurant opens up across the street. Is it taking anything away from that restaurant? No, the people have a choice of which one. You have a choice of which restaurant you want to go in. It's your choice. If anything, it might make things better. It might make things better because it draws more people to the neighborhood. It draws more people to say, hey, yeah, I didn't know that restaurant was here. I'll go to that restaurant next time. You give people a choice. You're bringing people, they're paying attention to the sport. I know a lot of people are poo-pooing it and they're putting their fingers on their nose and saying this stinks, this is terrible. You're taking away from real fighting. No, it's the choice of the people if they want to pay, if they want to watch it. Yeah, don't tell me it's taken away from the integrity of the sport. The people still know what the real fights are. People still know what the real fighters are. People are still going to want to see Spence and Crawford, and all those other fights that unfortunately we don't. And maybe that's part of the problem. We don't get the fights people want, so maybe they have to go and be satisfied with this. Maybe some of the promoters should take some of the blame, if there's such a thing as blame, for the phenomena that's going on right now with this stuff. And if you gave the people what they want, maybe they wouldn't have to go and seek out this the curiosity of these kind of matches. Maybe, but either way, I don't necessarily think that's all true. I wouldn't put all the blame on the promoters because they don't give us the best fight. That's why this is happening. This is happening because the curiosity of people. Yeah, again, it's not destroying the integrity. It's destroying the integrity of my sport? These corrupt organizations, these corrupt decisions, and crooked judges, and crooked organizations. That's destroying the dignity and the respect of my beloved sport, boxing, that I've been in almost 50 years. That's hurting it. That's chasing people away. And all these mismatches, that's hurting it. But they're not hurting it. They're just giving an option to people to see something else, to go to a different restaurant. The people that love boxing, that want to see the good fights, they're still going to be there for the good fights if you give them to them. They know the difference. Now, the next thing I'm going to say, like I said, it's going to make some people's heads explode. And another thing, before I finish about Paul, Woodley, I like Woodley. He represents himself. He's been a champion. He's been maybe just a great, welterweight, maybe the greatest welterweight champion of all time in the UFC. He's that special. He's that damn special. And he carries himself like a champion. So I love this guy, too. I got nothing but admiration for him. And I have admiration just for Paul, what he's doing. That I give him credit. That's all. for what he's doing. I know he can't beat a real one of the fighters, boxers, and I understand that. But that's not what this is about. This is about capturing the people's imagination. And I know the imagination goes bonkers. It goes cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. The imagination could go a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It can. Where people start saying, you know what? He would beat... I think he might beat Spence. Wow! I think he might beat Crawford. I think he might beat. I think he might beat Joshua. Listen, I'm just joking around, but there's people out there that actually start to get a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. They do. They get a little cuckoo. But having said that, we understand the realm of what this is. We do, and I give Paul credit that he gets ready, that he went and he learned the sport. He put the time in. He respected the sport. He learned what he needed to learn to represent himself the best he could. I give him credit for that. And like I said, Woodley's been a great champion. But Woodley's 39 years old, right? He's lost his last 4 fights. And he's lost his last 2 by KO and submission. So he's not in a... Listen, I'll say it. And this is not disrespectful. I already said the things I needed to say about how much I respect the guy. But he's shot. He has the look of a shot fighter in MMA and UFC. And now there's a lot of people going to say because he is a professional fighter and a champion, a former champion, that he's going to beat Paul. I get it. But you're looking at a guy who's 39, who's lost his last 4 fights, who's lost his last 2 by submission and KO. Now, listen, it's at a different level. It's
one thing I'll say is the TKO was a rib injury. He got hit in the ribs and he started just tapping. I don't know if he tore something in his ribs, but he was like basically tapped out. So,
yeah, but I mean, he still got to a place where he had to submit.
Yes.
And what I'm saying is he's in a bad place mentally. He's in a bad place physically. He's not in his best place. Now, having said what I said, those being at that losing those last 4 fights and everything else, 39 years old, that he lost those to real fighters.
Yes.
He didn't lose that to a YouTube guy who's been fighting for X amount of time. I get it. I understand. Again, all of it. And this will make people's head explode, so I'll get right to it. Paul is like Mayweather. Okay, go ahead. Clean it up. Get the Lysol out. Get all this stuff. Clean up all that brain matter that's all over the walls that just went... Really, you got to clean that stuff up. Got to clean it up. Can't let it sit out there. This, like a Pulp Fiction movie. You can't. You got to clean it up. You got to got to call Mr. Wolf. Got to call Mr. Wolf. Come in here and let's clean this mess up. He's like Mayweather, but now that you went nuts and your brains exploded, let me explain that he's smart and he picks his opponents very well. And Mayweather was always good at that. Mayweather was great. He was a great fighter. He beat great fighters. He was great, but he especially in his later career, he was very good at picking his opponents. Very good. And very smart, to his credit. And he deserved the ability to do that because he earned it. He earned the right to do that. And Paul has been doing that very well. Now, Paul saw what I saw. I do my work. I do my due diligence. I knew I was going to break this down for the fans out there. So I went and watched Woodley's fights from the striking standpoint, obviously. And he's, as I said, he's already at a place where he's not at his best place athletically anymore. But he's got a habit, his style. He stands straight up. He doesn't move his head. When he was younger, every once in a while, he would slip his head and he would counter with the right hand. He doesn't really do that. He stands straight in the middle. That's a problem. And he's got a good right hand, Woodley. He's got a good... He likes to throw with a little bit of a loop. Sometimes he can throw it straight. It's got power. It's got real power. If he lands that, can he hurt Paul? Yes. 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 He's got a good right hand. But he's got a style and a habit, Woodley, of pushing out his left hand, his jab, to set up. To land the right hand, as I say, you gotta have power, but you got to have a delivery system. his delivery system was he would catch guys coming at him. He would time them. He did a good job. He would throw at the same time. He would time them. He'd catch them coming in. Sometimes he'd catch them going back. Sometimes he'd catch them over their jab. But he doesn't, the delivery system that's broken here, that I think that Paul's going to take advantage of, is that Woodley has a habit, for the people that are watching this, not just listening on iTunes or something, but are watching it, I'm going to illustrate. He's got a habit of pushing his jab, which is never good, and throwing a jab half its length. Like, it doesn't get full extension. He only throws it like halfway out. Now, by throwing it halfway out, obviously he's waiting for the right hand. He's looking to set up the right hand. But by pushing it out there, two things are happening. By not extending it, you're allowing your opponent to get closer. Because if you extend it, you make a line. You can't get closer than that. You're keeping a guy at a certain distance. You can't get any closer than that. I'm keeping you at that distance. If you're going to get closer, beware. There's going to be danger. Beware. But now you're not making the guy really beware. You're not making him really tentative about anything. You're letting him, by throwing a half a jab, you're letting him close in on you. You're letting him get closer than he normally could feel comfortable getting that close. You're giving him access. You're letting him in. It's tantamount to opening your door and letting somebody come into your foyer. If you don't want him, don't open the door. You don't want them in your foyer because you don't like them or they could do. Don't open your door. Well, he opens his door. By throwing it halfway, he allows you to get into his foyer. So he allows you to get closer than normally you would be allowed to get. That's number one. Number two, by pushing the jab that way and by keeping his head straight, by not having head movement, as I described earlier, when he does that, he allows you to time right hands over that push jab, over that half a jab, where as you're throwing that half a jab, you get close, and you can time a right hand, bang, right over. It's like opening a window and letting things come in the window. Bugs, hornets, bees, pollen. Pollen's bad too, especially if you got allergies. But right hands are worse than pollen. I'll tell you right now. It's worse. And so here's the thing. He allows you to get close where you can counter with right hands. Paul's got a good right hand. I'm not saying he's got a right hand compared to this guy or to that guy in professional boxing. I'm not saying that because he hasn't had to land it on those level fighters. He hasn't had to show that. But I will tell you that he's a big guy. He's strong. He's in shape. As I said, he respects the sport. He's learned the basic things that he had to learn. And he throws a pretty good right hand. But here's the trick. He's confident throwing that right hand. He believes in it. Whether he's right or wrong, so far he's been right with the guys in front of him. And he's going to believe that he can land that right hand with the opportunity I just described that Woodley gives him. He believes he's going to land that right hand. And he's a naturally bigger guy. That's the one thing about, he's bigger than all the guys he's fighting. He was bigger than Askren. He had 20 pounds on Askren. I don't care what weight Askren came in. Askren wasn't in top shape. When Askren was in top shape, he was 20 pounds less. He was 20 pounds less. That's a fact. And the same thing with Woodley. When Woodley was in top shape, he was 20 pounds less than what Paul fights at. But he's going to fight Paul's weight. And he's going to be at a big disadvantage. He's going to be the smaller guy, the lighter guy. And Paul's the bigger guy. He's strong. Has that advantage. And he's got the opportunity to throw, which is a decent right hand that he possesses. He's got the opportunity to throw it and land it because of what I just described is the style of Woodley and the mistakes of Woodley, if you will. He He stands straight up. He's predictable. He throws that slow jab. He throws it halfway out. He lets you get close. Paul's got a good right hand. He's going to land the right hand. So the bad news is Paul's going to knock him out. Listen, maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, good, because I like Woodley. Listen, I don't know Paul, but I have nothing against what I said. I get admiration for what he's doing. Give him credit. But I think that the way I'm looking at it, he took this fight for a reason. He picked this fight for a reason because he could sell it, because there could be credibility attached to it. Like you said at the top, rightfully so, Ken. You said at the top, he's fighting a guy that this could be tough. He's fighting a guy, Woodley, who's a striker, who's a champion, and that's part of the reason why it's going to sell. And part of the reason why he picked Woodley, because there is credibility. You can attach credibility to this fight, saying the guy can win. The guy's he was a former champion. The guy's an MMA fighter, for Christ's sakes. The guy's a UFC former champion, for Christ's sakes. This guy's a YouTuber. Yeah. Askren was a UFC guy too that was undefeated at a certain point in his career in the UFC. But he wasn't a striker. And he had flaws. And his flaw was pushing out the jab slow or going straight back. And again, Paul was able to take advantage of that flaw. He was to his credit. And I think he sees the same thing here. An opportunity to take advantage. Yeah, the guy was a champion fighter. Yeah, all of that. But I'm a bigger guy. I'm a younger guy. And the guy has a flawed technique that I can take advantage of. And I picked him for that reason. I also picked him because, as I just said, we can sell this. We can get people to say, hey, let's see this.
Let me ask you this, for the people who are looking to place a wager with my bookie, minus 200 on Jake Paul. Do you like him that much to lay 200?
Yeah, probably. He's not picking it. He's got all the advantages. He's doing the picking here. Here. Woodley's not doing the picking. Remember when you were in the schoolyard playing basketball and you were the guy who did the picking? You could pick the team. You looked over there and you had a bunch of 10-year-old kids, and then all of a sudden you saw one that was 6'10", and you were like, I'll pick him.
Yeah.
That didn't make you Pat Riley, by the way. That didn't make you Red Auerbach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'll pick him. I'll take that 6'10" guy. You have an advantage when you're doing the picking, right, baby? So he's got to pick. He's doing the picking.
Let me ask you this one: over 3.5 rounds plus 115, under 3.5 minus 135. What do you like in the over/under?
I like the under.
Interesting.
I like the under.